Yeah, trendsetter. Whoa, league of my own, it don't get better. No, read what I wrote, I'm a bestseller. Yeah, reach for my goals, hit it dead center. Hit it dead center.
And so let's get into the topic that always seems to lack some common sense, and that is recruiting. So let's jump into our next segment, Always Be Cruitin'. And one of these days I will remember to share the screen before I go to YouTube, but today is not that day. Mr. Bentley and myself have decided to highlight a couple of different classes or recruiting halls for some of these schools. You can see there, Dave going to talk about Cincinnati, North Central, and Northern Illinois. And I'm intrigued by the halls at Illinois, Lakeland, and Illinois State. And bear in mind, folks, as we go through this is we are both Illinois residents. We're talking about baseball in Illinois. So that's why you'll see a heavy Illinois influence here. Might also be why kids from outside the state that are coming to like an Illinois or a Cincinnati or maybe an out-of-state school like Cincinnati coming in and getting a bunch of prospects to sign. That's why we're talking about them. This isn't, we would love to talk about every kid that's committing to a school, but we just don't have that kind of time. So with that being said, I am going to turn this over to Mr. Bentley and let him take us through his first choice, the Bearcats of Cincinnati.
Yeah, Ben. And when I hit on somebody and you've got video, you just give me a little wave and we'll watch it.
Yep.
And you can see, right now we're already looking at the big Enzo. But first, I wanted to, if you could pause it. First, I want to just talk about Coach Jordan Bischel. 43 years old. Again, we have to get used to people in high places that are younger than us.
He's ridiculous.
He's only in his second year. He gets 5 of the top 20 players in Illinois.
Yes.
5.
Yep.
I'm just going to touch on 4 because otherwise we'll have a 9-hour podcast. But I mean, 5 of the top 20.
Yes.
I mean, he's just poaching ballers from Illinois.
So he had a little help there. His former pitching coach, Josh Reynolds, who is now at Tennessee, coincidentally, got hired by Coach Vitello. But Josh was still there this summer doing the recruiting. And so he's the guy that scooped all these guys up. And then former Western Illinois assistant and interim head coach Taylor Sheriff is there as well. He got let go at Western after going, I want to say like 4-50, and was hired as their pitching development guy at Cincy. And when Josh took the Tennessee job, they bumped him up to pitching coach. I don't know if that's on an intern basis or not, but there is a lot of Illinois ties in the staff there. And Bischel even had ties in Illinois back when he was coaching D2 ball at Northwood University up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, not the Upper Peninsula, but way up in the mitten there at least.
First guy we got up here, he's the highest ranked guy I'm going to be talking about at least for a while. PBR's number 10 ranked, Enzo Infelice, out of the state champs Providence. Backstop catcher, hits the ball 103 miles an hour. This dude is a large mammal. 230 pounds. He stands at 6'2". He can play a little first, play a little third, flips it down to second base at 83 miles an hour, 1.86 pop. He was, I found out, decommitted from Oklahoma and switched over to Cincy.
Yeah,
I'd love to. Some of these kids, I'd love to have on the show and talk about, and maybe they don't want to get into it, but just say, what was your reasoning? And it's probably something.
What happens a lot in that case, especially with those big schools like an OU, they're going to get a phone. You're going to get a phone call and say, "Hey, look, we either lost a kid in the portal, and we need somebody who is going to be more ready than you are to step in, or hey, coaching change. We need to make a change there, so we're not honoring previous commitments." and in general, just the new laws regarding roster size coming in, with this new 34-man limit and the idiot timing of it around December 1st.
December 1st.
So many people are getting that phone call these days. So that is, I would venture a guess, that's why Cincinnati is cleaning up in the portal, because they were that Power Four school that still had some spots left to fill, and between their ties here in the state and some kids getting overlooked, that's definitely why they jumped in for sure.
Do you think that the Oklahoma type, not just to pick on Oklahoma, but their coaches are giving people like Enzo a heads up, like say in September, that, hey, it looks like this December 1st deadline is in, and it's a pretty good chance we're not going to have room for you. Feel free to take a
Absolutely.
look around. I would think
Yep.
that's happening. I hope it is.
Absolutely.
It may not be happening always.
No,
because
but
the coach's number one priority is to win and keep his job. But
yeah,
these are young men that are excited and thrilled to get an offer from a place like Oklahoma. It's tough, man, to get crushed like that.
well, and here's the problem: you run into it with all these kids, and it's a human thing, but that won't happen to me. It's the same reason, kids, and this isn't to bring back anybody's bad memories or anything, but the same reason kids, race their cars or grab a beer or something like that. It's because they don't think that they're going to be that cautionary tale. And I, I can tell you, I've lost count of how many kids, hey, was committed to an SEC school. And in some cases, they do it the right way, like you were talking about. And in some cases, it'll just be like, you know, a month before signing day, when you text to ask, hey, coach, when my national letter of intent going to come in the mail? And they're like, oh yeah, that's not going to be coming. We've still got room for you. You can walk on if you want, but there's no
That's
scholarship
tough.
money.
It's becoming a more dirty business than it was.
100%, which is saying a lot because it was already a dirty business.
Yeah.
And all these rules were supposed to help.
So I'm going to move on to the two
Yep.
arms here. The first one you've got queued up is Brandon Menser. I mean, I kind of like to talk about these next two together.
Yeah.
Brandon Menser and Connor Blue are two of the elite arms in Southern Illinois. Menser's 6'4" righty. He's from Sesser, which, if you know your Illinois cartography of the southern end of our state, that's right next to Rend Lake. It's probably about 40 minutes north of Carbondale. This dude is a big guy who throws low 90s. And they're very similar. Connor Blue's a righty from O'Fallon, 6'2", 205. He's ranked number 18 in the state. Menser's 15. They both they bring cheese, and they're both now Bearcats. And you have to look at this class again. 5 in the top 20 is just ridiculous. It's impressive.
That's an old school Louisville style haul. Back when the early recruiting thing first started, my boy Eric Snyder at Louisville would just come in and you get money, 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 and everybody else would be standing around going, well, who the heck are we going to recruit? It's just crazy. The blue kid, that's an interesting story. So he blew up his freshman year, like a month before his freshman season started, was 85 at a showcase down there. And I think it was the perfect game indoor, but it might have been PBR. I think it was PBR. And kid throws 85. And I start getting all these phone calls like, hey, who's this blue kid? And I'm like, never heard of him. Couldn't even tell you. They said, well, he's from Metamora. And if you're not familiar, Metamora is about 15 minutes outside Peoria, where Dave and I are both from, where I still live. And so I start calling around. I'm like, I'm talking to junior high coaches. No, there was nobody like that on the Metamora 8th grade team. Or, hey, there was, talking to the Metamora coaches. Heck, I called the legendary Bob Schlimmer, like the dean of all things Metamora, and said, hey, who is this kid? And he's like, never heard that name in my life. And it turned out that despite having an incredibly unique last name in Blue, that there was another kid named Blue at that event, and that kid was from Metamora. So Riley Blue from Metamora is getting blown up by, you know, by all these scouting services as being 85, and it turned out that it was actually Connor.
Did you just
And
go along with it? Like, yeah, and can you get that offer over to me like faxed now?
yeah, it was. I'm sure that was an awkward position for that young man to be put in, and
Then he
you
just
know,
sues him for breach of contract.
don't give these kids any ideas, Dave. All right. Well,
I don't know. You tell me. I'm going to keep moving on because I
yeah.
can't remember who all you have video on. But the next guy I want to talk about is a kid who I've laid eyes on myself because he plays summer ball at Athletes HQ, where my much younger son also plays. And my boy and I, after one of his practices, got a chance to take a gander at him throwing the rock and hitting some BP. And I got to say, I mean, in BP, it looked like he
You
had
talking about Joe Ducell?
yeah, sorry,
Yeah,
I'm skipping over Joe
that's all
Ducell.
right.
He's outfield left-handed pitcher out of St. Edward, Catholic in Elgin. I mean, this he's on the machine. He's got it up to at least high 80s, and he's just hitting Pink Floyd Laser Light Show. Just an overall athlete. He's throwing at 90. He's 89 from the outfield, 6.85 60, almost 100 exit velo with the stick. I mean, Gavin, my son, we were just in awe. It was cool to watch him. In fact, at the time, I didn't know who he was. And then through just perusing, PBR's rankings or whatever, I see him and I look into him and I'm like, I think that's the kid we saw. And I asked Gavin, and we looked at a picture of him, and my son says, yeah, that's definitely him. Another great signing. He's number 19 in the state. This class for Cincy, it's you can't even really say top heavy because it's so deep. I
Yeah,
mean, it is
absolutely.
top heavy, but it's 5 deep top heavy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And by the way, since he is not done, they snuck in here in 26 and signed what I think, and granted I'm uh biased because the kid comes out of my organization, but Gavin Michaels from Normal Community High School and the Rhino K's program out of Bloomington is just phenomenal. Elite game speed, probably the best base runner in the state, literally one of the best base runners in the country. I mean, the angles, the sliding, the you know, just know that kind of sixth sense about, hey, he's not going to get there before I round the bag, so I'm going because he's going to have to turn and throw and all that stuff. He is just otherworldly. So they are not done in Illinois, not by a long shot. We'll see if Josh taking the Tennessee job changes that a little bit, but Bishel's been in here before too, like I said. So and him and Sheriff obviously still have recruiting ties. So it wouldn't surprise me to see Cincinnati keep coming back.
It's been a great year for him. Great year of recruiting. All right, next one I'm going to move on. I'm going to mix it up a little Division III action. Powerhouse, North Central College out of Naperville, Illinois. The campus is really nice. It's right downtown. There's, little restaurants and bars around it. It's a beautiful spot. Um,
Absolutely. And one of
there,
the best head coaches in the country, and Ed
I
Matthews.
agree. Coach Ed Matthew, you know a lot more about him than I do, but I did my research. 481 wins at North Central, 11 years at Northern Illinois as their head skipper, 2 D3 World Series appearances, including fourth place in 2017. And I mean, I like what he did this year. Obviously D3, you're not going to get top 100 guys. You might, but it's rare. But there's still talented people out there. And Diggs, feel free to chime in because I think you know some of these guys better than I
Yeah.
do. But Brady Booth, shortstop, right-handed pitcher out of Tremont, the Turks. He's number 259 in the state. Um, he's whipping it from shortstop to first at 86 miles an hour. He can pitch. He could be a bullpen guy for the Cardinals, maybe a starter. I mean, I trust Coach Ed to get the best out of him. He's got speed, 6.960, swings the bat. He's about 6 foot tall, 160 pounds. So he could hit the weight room and easily put on 10 to 15 over the next couple of years and get even better.
Yeah, and there's a look at Brady right there. I've had the pleasure of coaching this young man, and just an absolute gem of a kid. One of those rare kids that can carry on a conversation with adults. When he told me he was going to play for Ed, I was just overjoyed because he will get a wonderful experience out of that. But it's so gratifying to see great kids going to play for great coaches. So really a very good fit there. Couldn't be happier for Brady.
All right, my next one is out of St. Charles North, which is a very good program where I live. They're only I think their high school is about 10 minutes away from my house. Ty Hembach, catcher, utility guy. He's number 267. I know you got the video up of Mr. Kleist.
Yeah.
We'll get to him in a sec. I'll just be real quick with
Yep.
Ty here. So, not unlike Kleist, Hembach's also a catcher. He's about 6 foot 175. He looks bigger in person. I got to see him play last spring. The word around this area is he's going to be the best catcher in the Duquesne Conference this season. We'll see about that. But he's decent defensively. The swing and the power's already there. He throws it about 77 down to second base. Put him on the list. He's another North Central guy, another snag for Coach Matthew. I like him. And now I'll go right into the video that you just had up. Another catcher they grabbed out of Limestone, where Hall of Famer Jim Thome went to high school. Gavin Kleist. Diggs, you know the family. I'm friends with his uncle. He's a good kid, very smart, 3.9 GPA. He's not especially tall, but he's that good stocky catcher build.
Yes.
Great swing from the left side. He's first team all conference. I think he hit about 316. What I noticed is in 112 plate appearances, 27 walks and only 16 Ks. That's pretty good.
Yeah, he's got a batting eye. You can see the swing there. It's a great swing. Honestly, when he was younger, I coached him at the 14U level. I really didn't think catching was his future. I thought he was a third baseman for sure. We even played him at shortstop some just to I think Brady Booth was gone or something. I don't remember, but anyway, he can make the plays. He's got soft hands. The arm plays from the left side of the diamond. So I could see him, him and Heimbach really, kind of being option 1A and 1B. But again, one of those situations where just thrilled for the family to get to play for a quality program like North Central. And even more importantly, get a good education. So, very, very happy for those two. Next guy we got here is Parker Eichhorst, one of our K's guys. I do a fair bit of work out of K's Academy in Bloomington Normal. Josh Cowton. I will go to my grave saying he is one of the best. And here's one of his products right here, Parker Eichhorst out of Bloomington Central Catholic.
6'6".
Yeah, he's a big boy.
He's practically handing the catcher the ball.
Yes, and you see there, like, those legs, like, holy cow. Like, it's not even funny how long his legs are. So, yeah, the upside is just through the roof there, and I think he's going to be a really nice ball player for sure.
I think he's only about 175, 180, so skinny kid. He's going to, he's going to put on some muscle, and
Oh,
I can see
absolutely.
his velo. His velo is not crazy high for being that big, but I could see it going up a lot. He's
Those
working with your boy Cowden, and he's going to go up there with Coach Matthew, and I think he could be mid 80s very soon, and you know he's
well,
got potential to go higher with that frame.
yeah, absolutely. Like if you told, and even at 88, 90, with that kind of extension, I mean that plays up.
Yep.
That's we saw Nate Lavender earlier. Lavi only throws like he might top at 94, 95, which sounds like a lot to us, but to the major league hitters, it's not crazy. But he gets such good extension that it plays into the upper 90s just by looks. And that's what Icorse is going to have going for him too. Is like you said, he's basically handing the ball to the catcher.
Yep. Last guy I want to talk about in North Central, and there's others that I'm not going to get into just because we don't have time. One is Evan Smith, middle infielder out of Marist, another good recruit. But this one I'm going to talk about Nathan Beers, lefty southpaw pitcher out of St. Charles East. I saw him pitch last year. I think it was against Batavia. He's 5'11", real skinny, hides the ball well. I was trying to think of a major league comp, but I really couldn't come up with it. He just kind of curls the ball a little bit, maybe a little Rick Sutcliffe, how he
Yeah.
used to sort of curl the ball. And he comes real low, three quarters, almost sidearm. Um, I'm not even sure he's touching 80, but he will. And again, I trust Coach Matthew will get the best out of him. He's one of those, but to me, like a potential guy. You're like, okay, you're a pretty big kid, you're skinny, we can add muscle, you're lefty. He had pretty good command of his spin and stuff when I saw him. Um, Again, upside guy, nice signing. Um, Again, they just North Central continues to stack them. I think it
And
really is a destination just from talking to parents
oh,
around
100%.
here at games. North Central is a desired spot for where I live in the west and southwest suburbs. It's obviously close, so the parents get to see their kid at half the games, but it's
Well,
also the facilities are great. It's a good
oh
school.
yeah. Well, and the nice part about the CCIW is, everything is within a fairly drivable radius. I mean, maybe what, 3 hours the Quad Cities coming out of the city, or 2 hours down to Bloomington, whatever it might be. Uh, if you're an Illinois kid playing at North Central, everybody's going to be able to see a lot of your games for sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to your last one, and this one is kind of special to me just because the whole coaching staff, I've either known them for since they were playing ball, or I've coached them since they were teenagers. So let's talk about the NIU Huskies.
Yes, I'll let you speak on your boys. The two assistant coaches, one of which, Mr. Stewart, was actually soft tossing to my son last weekend. But right now, I want to talk about the head skipper. Second year there after turning U of I Springfield into a juggernaut. And I'll say this: I like his 2025 recruiting class. I think his 2026 recruiting class could be better.
Yeah, Cope.
And you already
Uh,
know, and we're talking about Ryan
yeah,
Copeland here. You know the guys who I'm thinking of, and I'll let you talk after I get through the
yeah,
2025s. But there's a Peoria area kid. There's two. What I saw was two top 25 guys have already committed to Northern, who are in their junior years. I mean, he's getting after it.
yeah,
Uh,
and that's what it's an interesting dynamic at NIU because Cope himself is fairly young. He's mid 30s. His recruiting coordinator Joey Kelch, who played for me, is also in his mid 30s. I had him as a kid in high school and with the Outlaws. Um, and then Calvin Peacock, the youngest of the bunch, is still just pushing 30. And he played for the Outlaws and played at Limestone as well. Um, but they get after it. They're not afraid to work. They scout. Um, but most importantly, they sell what NIU has to offer. And NIU has a lot of things that other people don't. They took that Orange Bowl money from 12 years ago and turned that into a brand new indoor facility for the football team, but it also can do baseball where they can go almost full speed live. They've done a nice job on the stadium. Just a lot of things to like about what Cope and his crew are doing up at NIU.
I went to a coach's clinic there in October, and that field is immaculate.
Yeah.
And I sent a picture of that beautiful turf to Pat Holliday, who's a Peoria Central guy who played at Northern.
Yep.
And I said, can you guess where I'm at? And he got it, but he said, I can't believe that's the same field I played on. Him and Dominic Rope, a Morton guy, were both there at the same time. But
The dentist.
it's a beautiful field. It really is. It was a little cold that day. It was like around Halloween. I think it was about 30 degrees. So
Yeah, I
everyone
remember
was
you sending me
bundled
that.
up.
It's funny you mentioned Ropa. So back in the day, they used to have the uh, state of Illinois Invitational. All the Northern, Western, Eastern, and Southern would all play down in Carbondale and like a round robin at the start of the college season, because in Carbondale it can be 70 degrees in February. Um, and So Ropa was playing at NIU, and then Bear Kelly, now the head coach at ICC, was finishing up at Western. And he and Ropa played together on those really good Morton state title teams. And they're going through the handshake line, and according to Bear, Rope goes, "Hey, Bear, I'm in room, whatever it is, 337 or whatever. Come on by tonight." So they were all staying in the same hotel. And Bear said he'll never forget. He walks into the room. Of course, everybody's eyeing Bear because he's 6'8", 300 pounds, wondering, what he's going to rip up with his giant paws. And Ropa's sitting there with one of those green poker visors, a cigar in his mouth, and a spitter on the table. And just says, "Oh, that's my boy Bear. Let him in."
He's now Dominic Rope at DDS.
Oh,
He
I know.
is a dentist. And
I'm pretty sure Clint Kelly, Bear's brother, still flies to Florida to get his treatments from Rope.
I wouldn't doubt it. I've spent some time drinking with Rope and Holiday. They're both good dudes.
Yes, they are.
Moving along, I will move to a top outfielder, one of the top, I'd say top 5 outfielders in this class that Northern grabbed, Wyatt Wowrow out of Downers Grove Southie, the Mustangs, number 30 in the state, very quick, can play all 3 outfield spots. He was all state last year, ran a 6.8960. He's lefty through and through. He crow hopped an 87 from the outfield. Great hitter. I watched his swing earlier today. I don't think his head moves a millimeter when he takes a cut. He's not a big guy. He's about 5'9", 160, but he's even got a little bit of pop. He's a great get for Northern. I really like the kid. I'm going to try to take a gander at him this year if Downers plays anywhere that I can drive to without 6 hours of traffic.
Nice. Yeah, he's a great pick. That speed plays up. That 6.89, I saw that and I was like, no, that's faster. And that can happen, guys. I mean, it's not, this isn't everybody who runs an 8 going, "Oh yeah, I play faster underway." No. This runs the 6.89. It's the same thing I was talking about with Gavin Michaels earlier, the Cincinnati commit. Great game speed. Does it show up necessarily? They all run 6.7, 6.8, but they play so much faster. Former Notre Dame and Bradley standout, Andy Shadid, same way. Like, if there was a baseball running play to be made, those kids are going to do it faster than everybody else 99% of the time, because they just instinctively know how to cut those angles and all that stuff. And Vavro's the same way. So.
Next guy, Mason Orton, lefty pitcher out of Mohammed Seymour, the Bulldogs. That's just outside of Champaign. He's ranked number 74, but Boy, I think he should be higher. I really like this dude a lot.
Yes.
Fastballs 89 with the tail into lefties. He has kind of that Chris Sale thing going on, low 3/4 slot. I mean, he's Freddy Krueger nightmare for left-handed hitters. 84 Ks in 54 innings last spring, 1.79 ERA, 8 pickoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, he's uh, he's solid. This is Roy
Yeah.
Hobbs before he gets shot when he was only a pitcher. I mean, the dude's filthy. I think he's gonna just dominate. I really
Yeah.
like this signing by them. And
He
I think he's ranked too low.
Yeah, oh, for sure he's ranked too low. He actually, one of my former players, Blake Begner, who's kind of a legend around here, took Peoria Heights from a very, very below average program to a state title in 2017, and then went on to pitch at for Copeland at UIS. Um, he is his pitching coach down there at Muhammad Seymour. Blake is now teaching history down there, and so when this kid first popped up, I texted Blake and said, "Tell me what you got," and he just said he might be better than me. And Blake is, he's a humble kid, but he knows what he's saying when he said that, and it's for Blake to say that that's pretty high praise.
Yeah, I would love to catch a start. DeKalb is only about 35 minutes from me. I'm going to try to take my son Gavin, who's also a lefty. And no, I didn't tie his arm behind his back, but it's not a bad idea for those of you considering it. I just want to see this dude throw. You dig into somebody, whether it's recruiting or for a show like this, and you kind of just get like excited about it, dude, and you want to see him live. And he's one guy, obviously, I haven't seen, but would love to see him. Who knows how much work he'll get as a freshman,
Yeah,
but at some point soon, I'm going to see this kid up on the bump.
yeah.
Um, the
He reminds
last,
me.
Go ahead.
He reminds me a little bit of a Cole Cook. Cole's a Washington kid, pitched to Bradley, was top 25 in the country in ERA as a senior there. But he's a little firmer than Cole. But those kids, they just butcher you. And Blake Begner was the same way. Like they don't ever show emotion. They're just there to cut you up and leave you to bleed.
The last guy I got for Northern, the Huskies, is Connor Temple. I did get to see this guy last spring. He's a right-handed pitcher out of Batavia. The Bulldogs. Perfect Game has him number 80. PBR's got him a little bit lower than that. 6'1", 165. I think this guy has upside mostly because of his weight and the fact that he already throws 92. I mean, I don't know what he's doing in the offseason. Is he trying to gain velo? But he's going to go to Northern and he's going to gain velo whether he wants to or not. And if he's already at 92 at 165 pounds, I mean, he's nasty. He's just filth.
What'd you say the height was on that?
6'1".
So there's at least room for 30 to 40 pounds.
Absolutely. Now Batavia, when I saw him, they used him, and I feel like it was a playoff game. They used him in high leverage middle relief, like multiple innings. He's got a good changeup, 11-5 curve, and he located it. Again, you think about a kid a little bit differently when you've seen him live. I
Mm-hmm.
just couldn't believe, and you can't see when you're watching far away, and I'm
Yeah,
chasing my kid around or whatever, but 165 pounds. When I read that, I thought, with him already throwing 92, he's going to be bringing gas, cheddar
absolutely.
very, very soon. And he already is, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you got any
You're
more to
up.
chat about there, big guy?
You're up, sir.
All right. Well, let's see what we got over on this side here. I went with the Fighting Illini to start with there. Let me share the screen again since I can't remember to do that. Come on. There we go. And there's that. So we'll start off with Fighting Illini, and Fighting Illini class is headlined by somebody that you and I are both very high on, and that is Aiden Flynn out of Marist. This kid is, you want to talk nightmare fuel, 6'6" already, has just made an unbelievable jump. Was number 140 in the state as of May. And now, you know, number 8 in the state, into the low 90s. Just has that low 3/4 sling to him. Just a real impressive get there, and some nice advanced scouting by the Illini staff. Next guy I want to talk about, the staff is super excited about this kid, first baseman AJ Putty out of Huntley High School. This kid has juice in the bat for days. They've signed a couple of really nice corner pieces here. The other being this guy, Jack Wheeler. This is Jack at the Washington sectional back in May. Hit a grand slam there as the Redskins beat the host Panthers to set up a classic, IHSA title game matchup where the two schools are separated by 10 miles of Interstate 80 and yet had to drive 2.5 hours down to Washington to play a sectional title game. Because that's how it always works.
Times are tough, man. Times are tough.
Yeah. But anyway, some really nice pieces there. Kudos to the Illinois staff. Next, I want to look at Lakeland College out of Mattoon, Illinois, an NJCAA D1 program. Julio Godinez, their head coach, former recruiting coordinator at Eastern Illinois, is just killing it right now. The first one up here, Martin Villagomez, out of Burbank Rivas High School up there in the suburbs. This is the type of kid who he's ranked, I think, 59th overall in the state. And, in the quote unquote before times, before we ran into all this recruiting craziness and roster sizes and COVID and all that crap, this is the kid who goes to a Missouri Valley type school or an OVC type school, something like that here in Illinois. And this is just an example of kids getting pushed down a level now.
Yes.
And, already up to 91 or 92, I believe. So, I mean, this, it's just a perfect example of how kids are being filtered down levels now by this new style. Next kid I want to talk about, this kid is one of my favorites. I almost put him as the sleeper, but his summer teammate is the one I actually chose as one of the sleepers. And that would be this young man, Chance Payne. Chance is out of Mount Pulaski High School. You want to venture a guess, DB, how many kids are at Mount Pulaski High School?
Yeah, I'll take a shot. I'll go 382.
170.
Oh,
There's fewer kids in that high school than there were in your graduating class at Peoria Richwoods.
that is true. What a class it was.
Yes, it was. Mr. Payne here is, man, I helped out with the Commodores a little bit when he was a 16-year-old, pardon me, in his 16U season. And I mean, none of what he's doing now and impressing the scouts is new. That's what he was doing back then. And I just could not believe that more people did not jump on this kid. He's a big kid, 6'2", 6'3". You can see he's got the high waist, 87 from the left side, can make it, can spin it. But the bat just plays. It's got juice. It's got contact. He's got feel. I mean, it plays all around.
That's a smooth swing.
He's going to be he could be a two-way guy. Like if you told me 2 years from now that he was going to a Big 10 school or a Big 12 school as a two-way guy, I wouldn't doubt it for a second. The Lakers have some other intriguing signs from around the Peoria area. They took a kid by the name of Cam Ahart. Cam is also played for me. Both his older brothers played for me. His oldest brother, Zach, uh, was an all-region center fielder for me at ICC, and he's one of those cautionary draft tails. Should have been drafted out of UIndy. He went to a Tigers tryout, ran 6.37 in the 60 and threw 101 from the outfield. And when the Tigers called his coach to run it by him because he didn't have an agent to see what it would take, the coach was trying to pad his own pockets a little bit there, and so the Tigers moved on. But Cam is
with that Willie Mays Hayes 60 time.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Cam is very starting to approach, being just like his big brother, except he's bigger. So we'll see. I think Cam's got a pretty bright future. The bat really came on last summer. Last group I want to talk about, though, are the ISU Redbirds. And you see here we start with one of their top pitching recruits, Dominic Panazzo. Dominic out of Kankakee Bishop Mac has been up to 94. This is just another example. Dave, you and I were talking about this. That number, that 94, that used to be that's an automatic draft, usually a high round draft.
Yeah, we talked about Scott Prouty.
Yeah, Scott
out of
Prouty.
Pekin High School, class of 97. I mean, just throwing BBs since we were in 6th grade.
Yeah, cruised at 92, would run it up to 94, and 4th round draft pick. And now, 94, this kid will see campus, no doubt. It's just amazing. So that'll be interesting to watch. Another kid that I really like, they brought in a catcher, Zach Bava, I believe, or Bava, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. But Zach this bat is just violent. I mean, this kid, he's built like a fire hydrant. Love his kind of low crouch stance, and he just explodes on the baseball. Gets rid of it in a hurry. Has a 1.8 pop in there. But man, the bat is there's bad intentions in every swing. Just really incredible stuff here. So that does it for our Always Be Cruton portion of the event.